Hello, BookTube. Well, the west of the United States is burning. It's on fire, and it's under a cloud of soot and smoke. And Florida is bracing for a direct impact with a Category 4 hurricane of literally unprecedented size and strength. But here in Boston, it's a beautiful day. uh, and I had an old friend who texted me to let me know that his library's uh, charity sale acquisitions had brought in a bunch of new boxes, and that I could have a free run of those boxes before the rest of them were sorted and made ready for the sale. And I also had the company of muscular teenagers who had empty backpacks and an infinite carrying capacity. And those things added up to a used book haul that I wanted to show you. And since those conditions were perfect, the books were free. I didn't have to carry them, and there was a wide variety because Boston's a fairly bookish town. Uh, I overdid it. Since those conditions perfectly lined up, I overdid it. Uh, but it illustrates in a way uh, part of why what I'm thinking of when I look at used books. Anyway, a large part of what I look at when I think about when I'm looking at used books isn't me. It's what I can get for other people. So if I see something and I think, oh, that would make a good gift, even if I don't have a recipient in mind, if the conditions are perfect, if the book is free, and if I don't have to do the lugging, then I grab it. And I did a lot of that today, starting with an obvious case. They don't get much more obvious. The Penguin Classic of Pride and Prejudice. This lovely thing. With the it got a Thomas Lawrence painting on the cover. He's a great English painter who I've written about. I absolutely love his work. And it's just a perfect condition Penguin Mass Market of Pride and Prejudice. I already have it, but I couldn't leave it, so I got it. And the same thing is true with this next one, which I think I've praised on this channel before. This is Pete Dexter's great book, Paris Trout, set in the American South, and about the eponymous character is just one of the most loathsome characters in fiction, a horrible bigot and murderer named Paris Trout. And the book is just amazing. I mean, Pete Dexter is, in my opinion, a very underrated great author who hasn't done a lot, hasn't done work in quite a while. But I think Paris Trout is the best book he's ever written. And whenever somebody asks me for a gritty, violent, but beautifully done contemporary novel, it's on my short list as something to hand them. So it's always nice to have an extra copy. Same thing with this next one, which you've seen multiple copies on this channel. It's Kim Newman's novel Anno Dracula. But I couldn't resist when I saw it in a perfect condition. This lovely new edition, in perfect condition. I had to get it. The story of Victorian England overrun by vampires, and some of the vampires are actually good guys, but of course the bad guy at the very top of the feeding chain in Windsor Palace is Dracula himself, and the whole thing is just a virtuoso pastiche. In addition to being a great vampire novel, it's a virtuoso pastiche because every single Victorian character, both real and fictional, makes at least a token appearance at some point in the book. I just don't know how the author kept it all straight. Then the next one is going to take a little fixing. Some of these are going to take fixing on my part, but I couldn't pass it up. It's a classic, reading for pleasure. This is a big fat anthology that was put together by Bennett Cerf. Must be half a century ago. I don't even when did this originally come out? 1957. So even more than a half a century ago. And there he is. There's our guy Bennett Cerf. It's a little bit dog-eared, but I can fix that. And it's just an anthology of stuff that he really likes. It's just, he was in his day a public face of the publishing industry in a way that we don't really have today. We don't have an equivalent of Bennett Cerf today, and people knew that he loved books, and they also knew that he wanted to sell them books, and it was a wonderful combination. I highly recommend his memoir, At Random. But I also recommend this anthology. It's just you're never going to find it. You'll find At Random. It had a substantial print run. Reading for Pleasure is it's an anthology, and it's an anthology of authors who have mostly lapsed out of print. So you're going to need a store like a place like Boston with used books cropping up in attics and basements all the time, Or, for instance, a used bookstore like the Brattle Bookshop here in Boston, where I've also seen this book. And then the next one, I've mentioned on this channel in the past how much I like the old Reader's Digest hardcover classics. And one of you, I was actually kind enough to send me the Reader's Digest classic version of Moby Dick. And today I found in perfect condition a Reader's Digest classic of one of my favorite adventure novels, which is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Look at how pretty that is. And it's, let me see if I can get you one of the pictures that's inside. Yeah. Look at that. I love the style. I love 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and this is an edition of it that I'd be happy to have, so I was happy to find it. Same with this next one. This next one is the best work on the subject that's ever been written. It's a subject that's been written about 1 million times. This is by far the best in terms of the beautiful prose and the bottomless research. And I have a mass market paperback of this, and I have been hesitant to get rid of it because I love this account of the story more than any other account, even though I don't like mass markets. I wanted to wait until I found the hardcover, and I did today. It's The Windsor Story. This big fat thing, The Windsor Story, by J. Bryan III and Charles Murphy, about the abdication of the King of England. In order to free him to marry the woman I love, Wallace Simpson, thrice divorced American gold digger and horrible creature. And there have been many accounts of the abdication crisis, and most of them are lurid and sensational, and most of them build on each other rather than on the primary documents. This dispenses with all of that and digs right in to the very heart of the subject. How do we know what we know? How do we know what happened and when it happened? And it's great reading, just great reading. And I had the hardcover ages ago. I think I got it actually when it first came out, 1979, and got rid of it somewhere along the line. And I've just been holding on to the mass market. Finding it again for free and getting it back here easily without any strain and struggle was great, the highlight of the day. And I will definitely, knowing myself, I will definitely use the acquisition of this book as an excuse to reread it. And then we have a trio of things that I already have, and so I got them specifically because I was thinking of you, or the non-booktube equivalent of you. I was thinking these are things you can give to somebody. First one being Stories in an Almost Classical Mode by Harold Brodke, a great collection of stories that, like I've mentioned on this channel a few times before. I have paperbacks of this. I have hardcovers of this. Some of the stories, it's uneven, of course, in any huge short story collection. The stories themselves are going to be uneven, but the good ones are great, and I was happy to find it, especially since it's in relatively good condition. And then the next two are works of history that I cannot praise highly enough. I think I've mentioned both of them on this channel before. First one is Evan S. Connell, Son of the Morning Star. This is his not just a biography of Custer, but also a sort of panoramic history of his life and times, spiraling inward and upward to the massacre at Little Bighorn, which is the dark heart of the book. But Connell does a fantastic job of orchestrating the whole work around it in a helix formation. It's just beautifully done. And the other one is the best one-volume history of the American Revolution for the general reader. When somebody says, I want a book about the American Revolution, but it's my first one, and so I don't want it to be dry, and I don't want it to go into too much detail, I always get this, A.J. Langu's Patriots. Another big book that I can easily reinforce it. And it's fantastic. He does a fantastic job from start to finish at dramatizing the American Revolution without simplifying it. So I have a copy, but I'm happy to have another one. And then the last three things are oversized. And I was shamelessly taking advantage of the fact that I wasn't carrying these things. And the first one is a gem. I had it once upon a time, and I don't know where it went. I'm going to have such a fun time going through it again. It's The Worlds of the Federation. It's a Star Trek book about the worlds of the Federation. All the various alien species of Star Trek and what we know about them. Let's see here. Uh, let's find it. Let's find a something that even non Star Trek fans will know. Well, no, that might be asking a bit much. But like, so you get a view of the alien, just a representative version of the alien, where the planet is, what we know about the culture or the physiology. Just wonderful, a pure geek out for Star Trek fans. And then the next one, pure sentimentality, but I admit with this particular artist, I indulge in it completely. This is the Christmas book of Norman Rockwell. All of his various uh, Christmas paintings, most of which are reproduced in situ, which is amazing. Most of them are reproduced. See, there's Tiny Tim. Most of them are reproduced with stories. So you just you've got prose and also Dickens' great or Norman Rockwell's great illustrations, and I love Norman Rockwell. Just love him. So I grabbed it, and the last one had me chuckling all the way back here. It's the Rejection Collection, Volume 2. The cream of the crap. The Rejection Collection, the original one, was a collection of New Yorker cartoons that, for once you open it and start looking at them, painfully self-evident reasons, were rejected for inclusion in the New Yorker magazine because they're completely inappropriate. and the Rejection Collection is absolutely hilarious, just absolutely hilarious. But I don't think I could share any of its contents on this channel, and I don't think I can share any of the contents of this either. But oh my god, if you want to laugh your head off, you should get from the library. Get the Rejection Collection. You won't have laughed harder than that for a solid hour in the entire week. And that's it. That was a huge, in terms of weight and substance, a huge used book mail haul that was totally consequence free for Steve. So I had to indulge. You would have done the same thing. But I'll sign off for now, a bit guiltily, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.